of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed in attaining all in that which is your need? To be heard by the real answerer of all deeds, the true hero of all whom pleads. Who of you really want to bow down to the true King of Kings commanding the crown? To worship the one that ever rules alone, commanding everything of creation from the seat of its throne.
Good evening and welcome to an I-Had moment, the calm before the storm. I'm your host, Minister A.H.A.D. With me today is my partner, Brother Fakir Abdulaziz, and the messenger prophet of Ahezaah, Lord Holy-Apostle Deen. We're missing our other partner in faith, Holy Queen Mother Rabbi, but we wish Ahezaah's peace and other blessings about her presence. To our studio audience that are here and those watching this program, may Ahezaah's peace and other blessings about everyone's presence here. It's always a pleasure for my Ahezaah to sit in the company of the messenger. One thing we'll discuss this evening on this program is public education. You know, and much of us have come through that school avenue of school of education in inner cities, in the suburbs, wherever. But Allah gave us a thought, sitting with the message about when Ahezaah's messenger brings the public education from the Lord Most High and of His wisdom. There's the education that this world is so in need of today, that many of the world are going through the regular schools, you know, from grammar school to high school to higher degree college education, getting these degrees, thinking that they have arrived, you know, with the diplomas and their titles in the world, trying to find success. When I either explain to you that the real success or the true success is itself, coming back to it in this life. And that's the education that I think the world needs today to find their way, to navigate this confusion, this chaos that's going on with the signs of the time Ahezaah is manifesting. So with that, those in the audience, if you have any questions as we speak on this topic, you know, join and chime in. But Brother Fakir, Holy Apostle.
Yeah, go ahead.
Holy messenger prophets. From the time of time infinite, since man's been here, has been in need of messengers. We talk about Moses, the Buddha, Jesus of Nazareth, Muhammad, and many others, named and unnamed. Their particular jobs, in some settings larger than others, is to educate, whether the setting of the people that they're around, but extended that education, that message is a world message. That's the very whole point of, I would think that when we talk about the teachers in the public school settings or in the college settings, they're being designed as a teacher, a so-called person who imparts knowledge, understanding, wisdom, truth, is based on the reality of the messenger being sent by Ahezaah, set forth by Ahezaah to speak and teach man, you know, teach man and woman, you know, how to serve, how to worship.
Because in truth, all educators in all systems of government is literally based upon what the Lord sent down as an example with its messengers, its prophets. That's what everything is based upon. You know what I mean? And the problem being is that they imitate. Now, imitation is good if you're sincere in your faith and your trust and your attempt to get to the Lord, and you're open for truth. You know, like you see the prophets praying in a certain way, so you imitate them and you pray in that way. Right. By chance, you know, you come to something where you realize why they pray like that, and then that no longer becomes an imitation. It becomes your authentic prayer. You know what I'm saying? One of the problems we have in society is that people, because they're led astray and because religions have been broken off and made crooked in so many paths, that they can't find their way to the truth, to manifest their sincerity. You know, you have a lot of sincere people who practice belief, but they can't find the righteous way to it because of their ignorance. See, if you're sincere and ignorant, then you get lost. Now, let's look at ignorance. Ignorance means not somebody stupid, where most people think, at least in our communities of the African Americans. But ignorance is to ignore So if you're full of ignoring wisdom when it comes to you, then you're going to be shut off from the way. So no matter how sincere you are, you're still going to be lost. For example, you look at all these Christian ministers, all these Christians that have been told about the religion of Christianity being formed 300 years after Jesus.
Right.
300 years after Jesus. Wouldn't that click in your mind as an intelligent individual? Wait a minute, it came 300 years after Jesus. Why we put this on Jesus? You know? And then some people saying investigate. We've investigated and we found that some of the books that were given by the various prophets that they had collected, the Hebrews collected and other people collected, they did away with them because, you know, there was too much truth in them.
Right.
Wouldn't you as an intellectual individual let that click in your mind and say, well, let me check this out? But for the ignorance of mankind and their stubbornness, they said, well, my minister said this, or my father and my forefathers said this, that, and the other. So I don't care what you say. I'm not changing.
Yeah.
And then they think because they grow in great numbers that they are powerful and right. Well, so does a virus grow in great numbers. Huh? And in power. Huh? But they destroy. And that's what they do to the family of mankind. With their misguidance, miseducation, they destroy the family of mankind. That's why you got throughout the world today, from here into China and wherever the farthest ends of the earth, people are all misguided under different races and caste systems and cultures. They all misguided. Yeah. So the Lord said, well, I'm going to destroy the world today. And I put that in prophecy 5,000 years ago and educated the people about it. Publicly educated them. Huh? Put it in prophecy 2,000 years ago. Publicly educated the people about it. Publicly. Put it in prophecy 1,500 years ago. And the brother had to run for his life. Run to France. Because they want to kill him. And hide under the skirt of the queen. Nostradamus. But they bring out the education and say, whoa, his prophecy has been correct. But for the ignorance of man and for their pride in their desire to be independent of the Lord El, they destroy the world. They refuse true education. So you got the Pope and the priest and all these people with these religious titles and costumes running around acting as though they are of the holy, huh? And people believe it because of what they see of them. Yeah. They're educated and they hear about, they have a secret society and there are things going on that's unholy behind those walls. You know? Oh, but I'm not listening to that because look at him, that's the Father. Huh?
It's almost like, it's a saying, they call this guy a wise man. He made a statement that religion and education is like opium, a drug to the people, to the masses. Because with the thing that you're talking about, Holy Apostle, once they enter into a certain structure, religion, education, through the schools, their investigation almost becomes like, brand now, it's like closed in. Everyone that came to religion, to Islam, Judaism, Christianity, they all had either put the desire or the thirst in them to seek. Like Jesus said, seek and ye shall find. But once they arrive at a certain place of their house that they in worship or even education, it seemed like that squelching, that fire that drove them now.
Well, the man said something. He said religion and education is like a drug. It's like opium.
Yeah.
True religion is intoxicating. Why is it intoxicating? Because it is so heavy with spirituality that it weighs your mind down, and your mind, your intoxication really is the burden of your mind. It gets so heavy that you get intoxicated. I could talk to you if Ahezaah so wills and put something so heavy on you that you'll go to sleep in our conversation. You see, because of your realization. A person who is ignorant is not realizing they ain't going to sleep because he ain't listening.
Right.
He's not weighing what you're saying.
Right.
That's why in the education of Prophet Muhammad, Allah said if I was to put this on a mountain, it would crush it. And people look at Muhammad and say, oh, praise be to Allah. Muhammad held it. No, Muhammad didn't. Allah trying to tell you it was too heavy for a mountain. It was holding it in Muhammad. They say Gabriel was with Muhammad, and Muhammad spoke to Gabriel, and only Jesus and Moses spoke to Allah.
Right.
Who told that lie? The enemies of Allah. Huh? The diseducators.
Yeah.
The unholy told that lie. It's clear evidence is in the Holy Quran. If you have sincerity and a faith, Allah will show you that it was with Muhammad. Just in that statement there alone. If I was to place this on the mountain, it would crush it. So therefore, you know, I show my mercy to my messengers. So Allah is in Muhammad or with Muhammad upholding that message. That's Allah's message. And it refers to the Quran as the Holy Quran of Allah, Muhammad, and Gabriel.
That's right.
Why? Because the 3 in 1 manifested that message from the throne to the grounds of the earth.
That's right.
In education.
Right.
You know? Now, this thing about the education of the world, and when it gets to a certain level and these people are not right, that's just like a bad wine, man.
Yeah.
You know? Wine is not just wine.
Right.
Some wine is better at healing, and some wines is better at killing you. Huh? Yeah.
I talk about how some wine ages better than other, how they treat the wine better.
It's what the process that they bring into the wine and what they put in the wine. What they add to it.
I was going to comment on the religion and the education that has now been diffusing that they're giving out now is a bad wine. That's the opiate. That I was thinking that the man, when he made the comment that it's an opiate, he was trying to tell people are drugged, they're not paying attention to what is going on around. Well, you enlighten us to say that, yeah, naturally it is. The true religion is an opiate. It is intoxication.
But as above, so below. The pendulum swings evenly on both sides. You know, what you send before, you're going to come back to you. I mean, it's back into that correlation, man, of, you know, the cause and the effect. You understand? Yeah, it's a bad wine. But the thing about it is it comes from frustration. Now, what do I mean frustration? People go around looking for the Lord, trying to find their way, and they get sidetracked. The devil offers you innumerable paths of life, and the Lord offers you one. They say, well, I understand you offer me that one, but look at all this. Yes, all that confusion.
Like the garden.
What's better or worse? One path to get to where you need to go, or many paths of wonderment? You know, the fastest way to a place is a straight line. But they got all this crookedness for what? For they fancy. You understand? So in their frustration, a lot of sincere people have gotten to a point where they say, well, it don't matter what religion you have. It ain't no right way and no wrong way in religion. It's about your heart and your mind. That's wrong. For their frustration, they may say that. It is a right way and a wrong way about the way of life that you should choose. First of all, we call the way of life religion. And then we don't educate the people that we only saying the way of life when we say religion. What religion are you? What way of life are you? If people use the terminology in the way it should be used, they'll understand what's being said. But now we think, what religion are you? Oh, what formed organization that you're in?
Right, that's where it's at now.
Huh?
Allah says in the
Because
What line have you chosen?
that formed organization that you call church and temple and synagogue and masjid and mosque or whatever, religious congregation in that box, that's not religion. Not all conclusively.
Right.
That's a part of your religion. Another part of your religion is when you go home, when you're on the highway, when you're at your job, everything.
Right.
That's all your religion, your way of life. So when did it come the time that we got to this box that we in and say, oh, my religion is Islam, my religion is Christianity, my religion is this, that, and the devil brought that in. And when Allah said, today I give you Islam as your religion, the Arabs understood that Allah was saying through Prophet Muhammad, today I give you the way to the peace as your religion.
Right.
The way to the peace as your religion. Why won't the Arabs who are thorough in their language, why they don't teach that? They help keep people in that box.
This education.
So that they can control the people. Like the jinn.
Allah says, touching on that, when Allah says in the Quran, follow religion, the way of life of Abraham, and Allah bring on a couple of verses down, he was neither Jew nor Christian. How many people really have took time? What was Abraham? Because Allah said Muhammad followed the religion of Abraham,
right?
Not Jesus, because they all followed the way in coming to the submission and peace to the Lord Most High. And Allah, like you said, perfected from in Muhammad. Even when you told us that one, perfected in Muhammad.
Allah said, today I perfect in you your religion, your way of life. I perfect that in you. How is it that Allah perfected that in Muhammad? Allah perfected that in Muhammad by itself being intertwined in Muhammad, because there's no perfection without Allah.
Right.
Allah is the perfect that makes things perfect. So if Muhammad was void of Allah, that unity with Allah that people try to say he didn't have, that conversation with Allah, that intimacy with Allah, then he would not have been perfected. And the religion for his way of life to the peace would not have been correct. It would not have been perfected in him.
It's really something how the Islamic scholars, how they would describe and separate Prophet Muhammad from Ahezaah, from Allah.
Oh yeah.
Oh
They find benefit and evil for that.
And at the same time, they'll, in half a year, they may be changing now to affirm that the Quran, the Holy Quran, is the word of Allah, is Ahezaah, speaking directly to the people whomever is reading. Now, do they lose the connection that it was through that messenger that Allah spoke to the people and conversed and asked questions and pondered? It was that messenger's experience and expressed to the people, You
kind of lost.
You
seem like you went on a roller coaster ride in a Ferris wheel.
It's like they disconnect the Prophet Muhammad.
They did. I hear that part. They disconnected Muhammad, but now they're coming back trying to reconnect it.
They're not trying to reconnect it. They're still trying to keep connected, but they tell on themselves by saying, okay, the Prophet Muhammad was here and Allah was here, but the Quran represents when the Prophet Muhammad is at one. At one with the Lord of all worlds.
But they never say that.
Never.
They don't say that. They don't say that. The Sufis, the messengers of Allah that came, that they call Sufis, people who became enlightened, and in the Arabic language, in the Asian world, the Asian and African world over there in the Middle East and areas, they call them Sufis.
Yeah.
But in China, they call them avatars or mystics or whatever, well, the avatars are the prophets, but they had other terminologies, the enlightened ones for them. You understand? And people be yelling about, there's no room in Islam for Sufism, but they never say anything about the mysticism. I mean, of the other religions.
Right.
They never curse them.
Nope.
But they know that the truth is tied up in those messengers' words. And Allah said, I've sent you many messengers. Who have you slaughtered?
Right.
You understand? Right. And I could easily say, repeat what was said in the Holy Quran about Abraham. We follow the religion of Muhammad, and he was never a hadithite.
Never was.
And people don't even understand that there's been a birth of a new religion broken off from the true religion of Islam called Hadithism.
The question I always had, coming in through Islam, they always say that the Quran was the book of Allah. They say this. But
they
soon
don't act
upon it. Soon they get that, then they turn to every other book. Other than, I said, wait a minute, that's Allah's word. Then why we don't ever, you can't.
It's the same thing that they do against the women. They're wise.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't let them study to become wise. And then they try to act like there was no female prophets. You understand? No females that was close to Allah. When you clearly had Elizabeth, you had Mary, you had Moses' sister, what was her name? Miriam. You understand? And then you had others who were close to Allah, who were enlightened. Look at David's wife, Solomon's mother, Bathsheba. She became very righteous, and she questioned what was going on in David's kingdom. So they try to degrade women and act as though they're not holy. They can't be holy of Allah, and then they go so far as to take Allah's the perception of Allah and make it a male.
Yeah, they do. With the he.
With he. And that's not right. That's not truth.
No. I know when Allah explained to us, when you first brought us the word from Ahezaah, that I don't know what it is. We call it it.
Right.
It's beyond description.
Right.
Even though it may manifest masculine and feminine, but it's beyond it because that is not all of it. And when Allah says in the Quran concerning it, it's always speaking to both men and women though. Those who believe, male or female, only the thing Allah with the distinction was about the stage, man being about in the service.
Right.
That's the only difference.
Here's the whole deal. Hold that thought, please.
Okay.
When you talk about man from a scriptural identification, you're talking about the whole of mankind.
Right.
Man means mind.
Right.
Whether it's a feminine mind or a masculine mind.
Right.
Man means mind. And when Ahezaah in the name of Allah sent down the Quran and wrote in the Quran, had written in the Quran various things about what it determined for men, if you have the guidance of Allah, you will see that those things pertain to the female man as well.
Right.
Now there are certain things Allah has made distinct, where it says the man is a stage above the woman. You understand?
Right.
There are certain things that Allah made distinct because of the nature of a man and the nature of a woman. Now you got women today and men today that's confused and really going into perversion. Men want to be women, women want to be men.
Right.
And then they want to have, the devil has got this thing where this unisex thing going on. Right. Where there's certain places you can go to a public bathroom and walking in, there's women in there. You know what I mean? But the thing about it is they've gone astray by trying to mix.
Right.
You can't mix up Allah's wisdom. That's what the Christians do when they teach from the Bible. They go from this book to that book to that book to that book, teaching one sermon. Instead of giving the whole message of one particular book. They go from, and people don't even realize when they flip and go from Deuteronomy to this place to that, they flip for maybe thousands of years.
Right.
Flip a page and you're 1,000 years down. How you gonna mix what he said and bring it out to say that's what they were saying?
Skip the context of what
they skip everything saying.
Create a whole new concept.
Create your own thing and guide the people in the way you want, and they can't say you didn't get it out of the Bible.
That's true.
It came from the Bible.
The distinction that people don't realize, like I said, even though the word Bible itself, it literally means a collection of books. And that Genesis to Revelation, all are separate individual books from different times, like you said, times. But people, especially when they connect prophecy, a lot of times, they'll try to show a string to connect from Genesis to Revelation. Like, wait a minute.
And these are people of different races, different
Yes.
cultures, different time periods, different languages, you know. But that's what they do.
Oh, now those prophecies are accumulated right there in the text. If you follow the stories, the prophecies that we're talking about would be, would be referred to in the text.
One of the problems we have with men who try to educate publicly is that they try to identify their favorite prophets.
Yeah, that's
And they try to identify those that are near to them.
right.
You see, like the Hebrews, they only talk about the Hebrew prophets.
Sure
And they
do.
try to act as though there were no other prophets. The
They sure
Jews
do.
hardly talk about any of the prophets because they weren't all Hebrews.
Right.
Judaism came in the following of Judah.
That's where they come from.
And people think Judaism was of Moses. And Moses,
No, it wasn't.
it's like Allah said about Abraham, he was neither Jew or Christian.
Right. That when Judaism, like people don't realize, the Hebrews know if they look it up. When Judaism first came about, that's when the kingdom, after David passed and Solomon, that's when the kingdom became it was one kingdom.
Yeah.
Once it split, the 10 tribes went with tribes of Israel. The other 2 was of Judah.
Right.
And that's how the division came. And people today have taken on the name, I guess the stronger, the brother, or the arrogancy of that
It's
brother.
always the arrogance
Of
of the
that
worst
brother was the
people
one
that
that became
step
what
up.
Judaism they call today. But like you said, Moses wouldn't recognize that. No, Jesus recognized Christianity with their form that they have, because they was never given, religions were never, the way of life I should say, was never sent down with a particular stamp like Judaism. Moses said, when Allah gave him the Torah, I don't know what
Let me say this here. They lost the Torah.
Yeah, they did.
A lot of people don't realize that the Torah was lost.
Right.
And they never found it. Never found it. In those books that they have, the 5
Ezra.
books, that came from a man that was not wholly enlightened.
Right.
Was not a holy prophet or a holy messenger. He just had some memory of the book, and he tried to write it down, and they come up with these 5 books or whatever and say that's the Torah.
It's the pattern of the teacher that emulates the prophet.
Why? How is it that they so conveniently lost the Torah? What was Moses' true education?
Right.
Let's look at it. This unknown education, this lost education. Was not he an African in Africa? They've messed with the world so much that you got a great percentage of people in these United States of America that don't even realize Egypt is in Africa.
We're going to hold that thought. We want to thank our new audience for tuning in. Catch part 2 of this conversation about the messenger's education from Ahezaah in this day. May the Lord bless you. Continue to watch. Have a good evening.
Who of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you